Hello, I'm Jake Horrifying, and today I have a special guest, Josh Ruben. Horror fans know him best from Scare Me or Werewolves Within. The general audience probably knows him best for college humor, though. But today he's here to talk about two of his most recent projects from Shudder. How are you doing today, Josh?
I'm good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. It's good having you on. I mean, you've had a hell of a past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to log on to, my favorite little horror platform and see I've got two movies, one bootleg brothers apart. It's pretty cool.
It is really cool to see, and I want to talk about them in depth, but I don't want to go into spoilers because I really want people to see them,
Cool.
especially uh A Wounded Fawn might be one of my favorite films this year, and 2022 has been filled with some great horror films.
I totally agree, man. I just saw Pace Magazine put us on their list and just kind of seeing what 22 has been so far. It's just really incredible from like Pearl and X to Nope and Hellbender. It's wild and super cool to be on a list with names like that. It's insane.
Yeah, and the fact that it's all original horror, that I mean, there's been franchise horror that's been succeeding in 2022, but the fact we're seeing original horror perform as well as it has been doing, whether it be on streaming platforms or in theaters, has just been so refreshing to see.
Yeah, it's super incredible. I totally agree with you.
So before we get into A Wounded Fawn, I do want to start with Blood Relatives. Blood Relatives is a funny movie. I thoroughly enjoyed Blood Relatives. And for
Oh, thank you.
the people that haven't seen it, it's about a vampire. His name is Francis. He's 115 years old. He's a Yiddish vampire. He looks 35, and he's been roaming the American back roads in his beat up muscle car for decades. He keeps to himself and he finds out he has a daughter, and it's an absolute joy. How did that come about?
Well, Noah was actually one of the test audience members for Werewolves Within, and which was super wild because I recognized him from Ryan Johnson's movies, specifically Looper, which is my favorite Noah role, next to Blood Relatives, of course. And he had seen Scare Me, and he basically, we caught up about, werewolves and just his, got some notes and stuff and just kind of in picking his brain, working with the likes of Ryan Johnson, and just on many a film, he he had mentioned he'd seen and enjoyed Scare Me, and said, I have a script about the size of Scare Me, which is a pretty small indie, and he asked me if I'd be interested in producing it. And I said yes. I'd never really done that other than for myself or for some short films, and it was pretty organic. A lot of my role as a producer was connecting him to talent, a little bit of administrative stuff, mostly like helping him once we got to set, just sort of make the best use of the visuals while he was sort of occupied being a really good acting partner to Vic and to the ensemble. And yeah, we just flew down to Taylor, Texas, and knocked it out. And within a year, Shudder financed it. We shot it, put it through post, and debuted a fantastic fest. It was quite a time.
Yeah, Noah did a great job with the film, and you can kind of tell that you helped because I feel like a lot of the way that it's set up is similar to Werewolves Within, but you can
Mm-hmm.
definitely tell that Noah made it his own. Noah took it,
Yeah.
and it's such a fun watch. Your character in the film is Roger, and I loved every second that you were on screen. I thought it was fun. Uh, how
Oh,
did
thanks, man.
of course, did you enjoy playing the role?
Oh yeah, I totally did. It was such a great day too because so much I wrote. My role was producerial behind camera, and then what I enjoyed most about playing Roger, beyond like getting to act opposite Vic, was enjoying kind of vicariously Noah getting the opportunity to like lose the leather jacket and just direct, because he's otherwise in every scene. So it was a lot of fun to do for that reason, to just kind of do my funny thing and show all these crew members who perhaps didn't know who I was, like, let me kind of entertain everyone, so to speak. And It was great. I didn't even quite know I would end up, cameoing, but it worked out really well. I was stoked.
I am seriously loving what Shudder's been putting out. The fact that Shudder takes these shots on these type of projects, I think, shows how willing they are to dive into the horror genre, and to see film creators like Noah get these
Mm-hmm.
opportunities is so refreshing to see. Um, One thing I wanted to bring up is, because it's a horror comedy, you have a lot of history in the comedy genre. I
Yeah.
mean, you are very much a comedian. Every time I go on Instagram, you're making me laugh. Your Corey Cunningham impersonation from Halloween Ends killed me.
Thank you.
Uh, but we are really starting to see comedians come into the horror genre and really revolutionize the genre. People, Jordan Peele, what he's done with Get Out, Us, Nope, David Gordon Green, and what he did with the Halloween franchise, and what he's going to do
Mm-hmm.
with The Exorcist. You coming with Werewolves Within, Noah working on this project. What do you think really draws comedians to the horror genre and makes it work so well?
I got to shout out Zach Kreger as well, who did Barbarian. He was a member of the Whitest Kids You Know, which was a sketch group that was putting videos out in the early internet comedy days, back when I was doing the same, and just before I joined College Humor and helped form the originals department, as well as John Krasinski, who comes from an improv background, going off and doing Quiet Place, this $1 billion franchise. It's wild. I've been trying to articulate this in different ways, and I feel like I sort of struggle to do it because I'm not the most articulate dude, but I think there's just something about comedians that are great observationists, and also inherently, we are jesters who poke and prod and push and test. We test and push audiences with our comedy. We test and push with jokes. Some go too far, and I think you need that in an artist. You have horror directors who did the same thing. I mean, Romero, certainly as an example. I think there's something about a comedian, who is a natural poker prodder, uh, um, tester and mirror holder, that brings just an edge to the horror world, that skewers certain characters, that skewers society and the issues of it. All that more, because we as observationists, um, with a comedic lens, we inherently have a lot to say, and we have to say it. Like, for me, just as a comedic person, what you see on Instagram, like all my characters and most of my characters, a lot of me venting. It's sort of therapy. It's me. Sometimes like, certainly at the beginning of COVID, and with through the experience of our last president, I loved making fun of and skewering the assholes of the world, because it felt good and because we needed it. And I just think there's something about comedians where, that level of smart pushing and observationist humor brought into the genre, just gives it um that much desired and sort of cathartic oomph.
I can completely see that, pushing the boundaries of conversations to be had. Comedians
Yeah.
will do it on stage where they'll joke about things to really bring it to light, and I think you're seeing that in films. Specific, like Jordan Peele is immediately who I want to go to, because especially with Nope this year, it
Mm-hmm.
has such a deep message, so much meaning, and it's calling out this group of people, or that sounds bad, but it's pretty much saying like hey,
Yeah.
this is what's happening in Hollywood, and this
Mm-hmm.
is exactly what's going on. And the fact that these are willing to be pushed and talked about is something that I wouldn't say that filmmakers are scared to do, but I feel like it's something that a lot of filmmakers wouldn't do.
I agree. You said it so well. I couldn't have said it better myself, and I wish I'd thought of the word boundaries, but that is exactly right. Well articulated indeed.
And to have a project, I believe Blood Relatives came out November 22nd, and then Wound and Fawn came out December 1st or 2nd. Uh,
Yes.
So to have two projects like that, and I don't mean to bounce around everywhere, but to have two
No,
projects like
no.
that come in such a short period of time, uh, how is that stressful? Do you find that easier to do or more difficult to handle with having to help kind of promote it and put it out for the general audiences?
Well, it made it, that's a great question. I mean, it made it quite easy that both projects are under the AMC Shudder umbrella. There are different, I believe there are different PR teams pushing out and arranging the publicity for both. And so that definitely makes it easy. I think I would be a bit exhausted, or it would be tougher if they were two completely different films with different distributors, with different PR folks, or at least, not under the same umbrella. What makes it quote unquote easy is that, I haven't been doing this is my press run for Blood Relatives, my kind of indie press tour. I haven't done any press with Noah. It's been a lot of Noah and Vic, as it should be. And I also, I don't like to oversaturate, and saying as someone who is constantly kind of outputting, I really don't want to oversaturate, especially when it takes away from a filmmaker. Noah should be the one to be going out there and telling the story. He's a verbose guy, a great storyteller. He and Vic have an awesome dynamic. It should be he and Vic, and it is heading up that kind of PR effort. Whereas, Wounded Fawn, it's like you go out as a star of the film, and we've been doing, triage, triage PR interviews and stuff, Sarah and Travis and I, and that's always a lot of fun. But this kind of effort I'm in right now, booking myself on, or just opening up the kind of floodgates to say, hey, for anyone who's got a show, come out and ask me about these two movies, as priority. But if you want to shoot the shit about inspiration or other films I've done or whatever it is, keeping that door open. That's that's definitely, it's definitely spreading me, but not too thin. I asked for it, and I'm excited too, because as exciting as Shutter is, we're still making independent film, and you got to spread the word somehow. And I think, when you tweet or when you Instagram or even when you TikTok, you're kind of firing it out into the ether. But there's nothing quite better than actually having a conversation with people, who will then a daisy chain that communication, to their audiences, and that expression to their audiences. And so it hasn't been difficult by any means. It's been super exciting, especially because, a lot of y'all have been asking such amazing, insightful questions with really not a lot of overlap, which is just so mind blowing to me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't watched a lot of other interviews just because of how busy I've been. So I've been hoping that some of the questions I ask aren't ones that you've just been asked over and over again.
Oh,
Uh,
and it's totally fine if they are. I'm so happy to articulate. Too, I will sometimes leave an interview and be like, oh man, I wish I'd, unpacked that a bit further. But no, it's all good.
so with you brought up a wounded fawn, and I didn't know what to expect going into a wounded fawn. Didn't see any trailers for it. Went in completely blind. Didn't know you were even the lead of a wounded fawn, and
Great.
I am really happy I did that because that movie is ape shit crazy in the best way possible.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty wild, isn't it?
And it looks like you had just the absolute blast filming it. You steal, well, you and Sarah absolutely steal the show. And there's not a moment in the film, for people that haven't seen it, there's not a moment in the film that I feel is dull. It is, you're on the edge of your seat trying to piece together what's going on this entire film.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, I mean, Sarah made it especially easy, just being such an insanely good acting partner, but also such an artist. And also, we're so just on the same level of wanting to play and wanting to just dive in and get weird, and not overthink stuff. So that definitely made it a lot more fun to kind of venture into it. But Yeah, man, it's all testament to Travis. You know, Travis had one hell of a vision. He knew exactly what he wanted. He was uncompromising but super collaborative. And we all knew when we were on set that we were in for something special. I mean, I knew it was going to be something special, especially when Travis, DM'd me asking me if I'd be interested in reading his script. And what I realized the other day, someone asked me, "What's my dream role?" And I said, "You know what? I'm the revelation is I think I've already played it. I think Bruce is my dream role because you get to play the spectrum of villainous, which is so fucking fun to play the bad guy, but also to play terrorized and to play beaten. And I'm reading this thing and I'm going like, oh my god, this is kind of every part of performance that I love, down to the prosthetics. I mean, down to getting a head cast and the mold and having prosthetic injuries and blood. I love all that, and this was an opportunity to do it. Marvel's not going to give me the opportunity to do it, not yet anyway. But the independent film community will. A filmmaker like Travis will. He really took a chance on me, and it was just a perfect storm.
And you like you said, it is a perfect storm. Like everything about it came together so perfectly. The film, of course, independent films don't have these massive budgets, and with what it
Mhm.
had for a small budget, it made it look so good. It kind of gave me Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes in the sense that you have a small budget and it's got this gritty, nasty feeling to it, and yet it looks so well done. And I think that's a testament to Travis and the cinematography and to the entire crew that came and brought this together. And I feel like that's something that could be also translated from set. You could see that on set,
Yeah.
it's really how it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we were all reading this. Sarah and I will just, compliment and praise every time, knowing that the visuals were so inset in the script, in the read. We knew that we would be seeing and experiencing that very thing on set. That spectral 40 feet of fabric that rises in the air, but just as you're about to reveal, or as Tiffany is about to be revealed, that was real fabric floating through the air in a ghostly way with wind machines and the production design crew wrangling it. And such images like that, I knew there weren't going to be fake snakes, and that there would be, in essence, creatures and immense, almost fashion film esque wardrobe. Reading it, you knew that that was how Travis would do it because the visuals were so specific. And that just made it all the more, made us all the more jazzed to make it, to do it, to dive in.
I love that. For the audiences that haven't seen it or don't know anything about it, a brief summary of what it is, and this straight from IMDb. It's a serial killer brings an unsuspecting new victim on a weekend getaway to add another body to his ever-growing count. She's buying into his faux charms, and he's eagerly lusting for blood. Except I feel like it doesn't give away anything because there's so much more to it. There's so many more layers to it. It's kind of like a cake. It's got just you got your top layer, the icing. I feel like that's the icing, and as you cut in, you get to all those wonderful layers that I just absolutely love about this film.
Yeah, I love that too, because it makes it a surprise for everyone at every turn. I mean, even if you knew how the whole kind of film turned out, there's still so much that's unexpected, just visually, just in sequencing, even in the ebb and flow of performance and scenario. And I also love that for for horror fans that don't really understand the phantasmagoric stuff or giallo, which I certainly am not well versed in. I read it and I'm going like, holy shit, this is Patrick Bateman in the Evil Dead cabin. But the Deadites are the fucking Greek vengeance, the Greek furies, the goddesses of vengeance. Like how incredibly visionary and original is that? So there are so many different ways in, and I think that's why especially with the commentary too, man, socially, with the dangers of dating and with, strange men and the cycles of abuse and social justice, private justice rather. There is there's a sense we all have that I think this movie's going to have a long life, just in terms of the cultural conversation.
That's a really good point too. I feel like because we are in the modern age of dating, where you meet people and via Tinder or whatever dating apps, and you go out and interact, and there are so many strange, weird people that you don't know if you can
Hmm.
trust, and this really
Hmm.
dives into those fears, which is something that horror movies that express that for this, or whether it be aliens or so on and so forth. I think it
Hmm.
really strikes a chord for the people that feel it. I said aliens, and that is so out of left field. I should have said something a little more realistic than aliens. I'm so sorry about that.
No, no, it could be.
I reckon so. But that it's such a good point. Especially because I think it gives perspective for
Hmm.
men who don't really get to experience stuff like that. They can see how it affects a character like that on screen, and it really
Yeah.
does bring up these conversations for people to have.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And it was one of the first things that the first hints I had about the film even before I saw it. It was Sarah who texted me before I think even Travis knew that we were conversing or that I got a hint of what the film was going to be. She's like, I think people are going to be talking about this film for a long time, especially just in the conversation of abuse and men, and there's just so much to say, the dangers of dating and all, perhaps just as similarly or certainly alternatively to a movie with a similar setup with Fresh, our buddy Mimi Cave's movie. Uh, there's a lot going on, and with the Greek mythology of it all, just feminist allegory and feminist mythology dating as far back as that mythology. It's exciting to sort of go, wow, that's how bad men were skewered from the beginning. Like, let's look into that and see what that was and what that meant. And in time long ago, it's exciting to unpack.
So coming into this, did Travis say like, hey, can you look at this or watch this? Because I feel like your character has traits from this character or this character. Because there is a character that I in mind, like I picture that reminds me of your character, Bruce. But I want to just know before I say who it is, if it's one of the characters that he might have told you to look at, which I'm sure you've already seen the one that I'm thinking.
I don't know if I have, beyond, I have been getting a lot of like, wow, it's your Bruce Campbell moment. It's your Bruce Campbell moment. But Travis didn't call out any specific reference. He only saw Scare Me. He saw Werewolves as well, which I wasn't in, but has certainly, it has my stank on it, you could say. And he's like, I think this dude is wild and wicked and weird enough, or has it in him to take this swing, to play this dude. And what I'm extra grateful for is that he was willing to take the swing, not having seen me play a villain before. I would only kind of dabble comedically, but now I'm very curious as to what you were alluding to.
Uh, I saw a lot of Patrick Bateman in the character. Uh,
Wow. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was like I don't know for a second, and I've been looking on Twitter. I like after I saw the movie, I've been looking on Twitter. I've been trying to find like people that agree, and I haven't seen that anywhere. So I'm like, am I crazy? But because I see a lot of the traits that you see in Patrick and Bruce,
Yeah.
and
Yep. Yep.
it's like I'm just glad to know that you saying yep makes me feel a lot better about how I felt.
Yeah, I mean, you're dead on. It's funny, I haven't actually made that reference myself. I mean, when I describe the movie, I'm like, it's Patrick Bateman and the Evil Dead cabin. I guess you could say the
You did say that.
comparison. I mean, well, just but I never thought like I thought necessarily, like consciously or otherwise, I was drawing a comparison to him. But what's similar about the characters is that Bateman is wearing a mask and Bruce is wearing a mask, and I knew. I think it was something Travis told me too. Is like, just the allegory and the symbolism of masking and pretending you're something that you're not. He's also hiding behind these shiny objects, these exotic, even down to his exotic weapon, this claw-like thing, this Bognock he uses to kill people. Um, he's a very similar character, a know-it-all, sort of cold narcissist, and a materialist at that. And I think that's definitely where I see some similarity. And just in terms of like the intonation, I knew that I wanted to kind of mask or be conscious of my, over articulation to a degree, or my manner of speaking. He's very thoughtful about his way of speaking because, he's holding in quite a bit, and that burst. You even see that, not that I drew any kind of comparison to Dahmer, but you see that in the interviews. This guy was alternatively kind of like polite, kind of more, demure and muted. And this he was hiding behind that kind of demeanor, whereas Bruce is hiding behind the veneer of, Yoda Motolengi and vintage little car.
Absolutely excellent points.
Yeah.
I totally realized you did say earlier Patrick Bateman versus mixed with Bruce Campbell and Ash Williams. So no, I feel
No, it's all good, but no, but I hadn't thought of it. I wasn't totally conscious of it. I was like, that's just how you explain it. I was like, no, actually, let's take the swing, like, make the comparison. I think you're bang on.
and Dahmer too. Now that you say it, although I really hate talking about real life serial killers, but you got really good point. I mean, this is about a serial killer, and your character does have some serious spot on traits with the serial killers of real life, like Jeffrey Dahmer. Uh,
Yeah, sure. They all wore masks. I mean, probably more accurate to Bundy. Bruce, someone who is like so gregarious and, and upper middle class or upper class citizen, rubbing elbows with politicians and the like. That's exactly where you could see Bruce kind of wanting to hang with the coolest people, or rather the high society folk, because that's how he considered himself. Same with Patrick Bateman, who was inspired by all of them. Same kind of idea. Bret Easton Ellis, I'm sure, was inspired by, you know, um, that kind of expression.
did you enjoy playing a villain? Because it seemed like
Oh
you
my
did.
gosh. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I mean, like, to be able to have your, Anton Chigurh moment, but also to be able to, scream and run from these like feminist furies, these goddesses. It was really incredible just to be a part of the whole thing. But yeah, it wasn't even just the villain side, but the spectrum of it, and also socially to be able to play this dude who would rather flay himself than admit that he's a liar and a thief and a murderer, which is so unfortunately squirmingly accurate. That's also what made it fun as hell. Yes, it was fun as hell to intimidate and to bully and to scare, but it was also super fun to, imagine this like know-it-all narcissist being vulnerable and being scared for his life, because that's like darkly how I feel about the narcissists I've come across in my life. It's like, ooh, if only I could rake your ass over the coals. And we get to we get to have that here.
Yeah, really good points. I really hope we get to see you in more villainous roles. I know that earlier this year, holy shit, he just dropped my mind. I'm so sorry, Josh. Give me 1 second.
No, no, no. Yeah, take your time.
Well, Ethan Hawke. Okay, earlier this year,
Yeah,
Ethan Hawke played the Grabber, and he's been saying like he hasn't wanted to take on a villain role because he doesn't want to be viewed as this villain character. But now that he's
that's
played the
right.
Grabber in the Black Phone, he says that he wants to do more villain roles. Is that something that you want to do? Would you like to be defined uh in these movies? Would you like to be like Giancarlo Esposito and be known as this villain character in different films?
I want to say that I would, but I also really love that people haven't quite seen this turn for me. That just as people who watch College Humor or Dropout videos, watching me on a game show doing silly voices with my old College Humor homies, just as they wouldn't expect that I do horror stuff. I love when the horror folks are like, "Holy shit, you do comedy!" I love that people see me get to play a see me play the serial killer character, and then also are like, "Wait, he directed this like horror comedy werewolf movie with Sam Richardson, but he also like did this little Sundance movie." And I've got all these other things that are kind of disparate from that. I love horror and I love the genre. I absolutely consider any villainous role, and I love to perform. But I want to be unexpected. I just love the kind of the template anyway, or the image of um, the actor you can't pin down. It's what I loved about watching like my hero, Robin Williams, like coming out of left field and just suddenly doing like 1 hour photo or Insomnia, just as he eventually would do dramas or um, and then pop back in and do some insane, comedy, taking a real swing with some material.
So you want to have that range that I think that's awesome because I think you have a great range. Uh, God, I don't mean to sound like I'm just kissing your ass the entire time,
No,
but
it's all
you
good,
really
man.
do, man. I mean, you really have an awesome range. But one of the things, so I've known about you for a long time, but whenever I hear Josh Ruben, I don't think horror. I think of comedy, and I think of me at the age of 12 watching your Jesse Pinkman skit on College Humor,
Hey, bitch.
You are caught up on Breaking Bad, bitch.
Yeah.
and that just I love the fact that that's how I think of you. And then I can go into a film, I can go into Scare Me, I can go into Blood Relatives, and then A Wounded Fawn, and see you as these completely different characters taking on these completely different roles. I mean, you definitely have the range where you could play whatever you wanted, and you can bring in comedic aspect, or you can bring a horror aspect. That's a great talent to have.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I agree, and it's the talent I really enjoy and people I super admire. The fact that like Lee Winnell, for example, is the genre master, and he's also so funny and also known to be a really nice guy and humorous and diplomatic. To also be, writing and working within, the Universal Monsters IP space. Um, it's it's exciting, and I can. It's cool to be able to like point to people like that. He's like, oh, he acts, and he also does. He's on the he also directs, and he also writes, and he also produces. And I want to do all those things, and I also want to send the elevator back down, and like hitch a ride with all of the upcoming Lee Winnells or all the upcoming Karin Kusamas. How can I help you? How can I help like make your short or raise you up? High tide raises all ships. Because I think also like I have a fear about. I mean, sure, it's the artist life, like barely making any money now doing what I'm doing. But about being irrelevant. I think working an internet video will latch that demon to you forever. You'll have the kind of curse of, being irrelevant or being a dinosaur. And I think the difference is I actually, I genuinely am. I can feel in my gut. I know in my gut I'm genuinely excited about the next me, and I want to help them and also sort of learn from them. I think that's probably what some of the old timers are doing when they produced for for the young folk or for the next genre filmmaker or any kind of filmmaker is they're sort of learning from them in a way while while supporting them, raising them up, and providing them with an opportunity to make their thing.
That's great, absolutely great points. I love that you brought up Lee Winnell. Just out of curiosity, did you like the new Invisible Man?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was such a such a nostalgic film just in the COVID of it all, it being the last film I'd seen in theaters. It was like, I remember I measuring COVID in terms of the movies that I saw in theaters. It was like it started with Invisible Man, or rather, our time in the theaters ended with Invisible Man, and that was like that and The Hunt were the ones I remember we were kind of living with. And then it was back to the theater was Quiet Place too. And beyond that kind of emotional attachment to what it meant in terms of the context of that wild time in our life. Um, uh, that it's also just like it's so well done, it's well acted, like it's smartly made, it's sort of a contained movie for all intents and purposes, so that was just exciting. You're kind of watching, at least as a filmmaker like me, going like, damn, I wish I thought of that, or man, if only I had that opportunity, or man, that kill was such a good fucking idea, or what casting.
So I completely know where you're coming. So, in terms of the COVID part, like that was the first film I saw where remember whenever COVID started and Blumhouse what did it with Hunt and Invisible Man, where they put it up for $20 where you could buy it and
Oh
stream
yeah.
it. That was the
Yep.
first film I streamed. It was probably like mid to late March, and
Mm-hmm.
um so watch I know the classic Universal monster movies. I've seen the old Invisible Man. Coming into this, I'm like, I don't know how it's gonna adapt to real life. And then to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
how he does it is so fucking cool. Like you
yeah.
what a genius. Like Lee Winnell is an absolute
Truly,
genius.
truly.
And you just made me think about that. And that kind of made me happy because I haven't talked about that in a while. So I just love the fact that you just brought that up and made me remember that.
Yeah, we kind of, we forget about that as being like, that was a touchstone of the era in a way. We'll be able to look back at that even in 20 years and go like, man, one of those wild details of time were these two films, Craig Zobel's The Hunt and Lee Winnell's Invisible Man, like the genre touchstones of those genre films were touchstones of that time of uncertainty. And what both of those movies, if you could write a whole dissertation, like a whole thesis on God, the themes of those movies and how you could relate that to the storm that was coming and where we were societally and everything else. It's a really, really interesting moment to revisit for sure.
Yeah, and there's so much emotion with COVID in the horror genre, like the horror community. One of the moments that I remember, like to this day, like how I felt the moment I found out was when Halloween Kills got pushed from 2020 to 2021. I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
remember the disappointment, like the realization of like, is this going away? How are we going to rebound? How like are we going to see movies in theaters again? I remember all those feelings, and it's just crazy to think of the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
middle, the coming back. Like you said, A Quiet Place Part Two. I remember seeing that in
Mm-hmm.
theaters. That was the
Mm-hmm.
first film I saw whenever it came back. So
That was the return, right, right, right.
and 2021 was also the year. Last year was also the year that you had your film Werewolves Within come out.
Are we really in a Mexican standoff right now?
Baby, don't say Mexican. Just stand up.
And
That's right.
that was a kick-ass movie. I really think it is the best video game film adaptation that has been made. I know that a lot of people say Sonic, but they need to go see Werewolves Within. Uh,
Thank you.
because it's so cleverly, like your cinematography looks so good. Like who was your cinematographer on the film? I'm sorry, I didn't look that up.
Oh no, it's all good. His name was Matt Wise, and he'd actually only done one feature before. And yeah, I mean, my mandate was we have to go anamorphic, which is sort of evocative of Carpenter-esque films and similar aspect ratio to the werewolf films that I loved, ranging from Silver Bullet to Bad Moon. Even like I wanted to match that kind of atmosphere and that aesthetic, even in homage, but also because it's that Carpenter thing of anamorphics are the kind of cheapest way to give your movie scope, to give your movie sort of a premium visual quality, even though it requires a bit more lighting and there's sort of an interesting visual distortion that happens on the edges of the lenses. I'm a sucker for it. Mike Doherty, who did Krampus, which I think is horribly underrated, although maybe not so much these days, came out in 2014 or 15. He used the
2015.
same, yeah, he used the same kind of, he was inspired by the same imagery, more so like Dark Crystal and Gremlins and Poltergeist. There's just something about that era. Of course, it's we're spoiled with the '80s of it all, but that atmosphere, that visual language, that was integral in Werewolves for me because it's transportive and it just immediately puts you in that kind of nostalgic space. But also, it frankly just looks beautiful.
Oh
It's
yes.
such a great looking medium.
Beaverfield feels real. And I think that is something that should be completely appreciated by people is like you were saying, Carpenter, Haddonfield and Halloween feels real. Outpost 31
Yeah,
feels like a real place. Beaverfield feels like a
yeah.
real town with real people. And I think that translated so well into the film. And I get so many vibes from John Carpenter's The Thing watching it. Of course, you have the snow, like the snowy setting, and then this mistrust among people. So I just love that you brought up Carpenter because I see it. I see the fingerprints all over your work.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love him dearly. And I love the thing. I was so affected by it, maybe more than Halloween and the fog. Those came later, but the thing was everything.
The, I, I have no words. I'm just so happy. Like that. That's awesome to hear. I'm gonna say something crazy. Uh, but I would love to see with your talent, with your work. I would love to see you work with director Mike Flanagan. I think that
Oh
you
man,
you
yeah.
you and Mike Flanagan, like, because Mike, the reason I say this is Mike Flanagan recently joined TikTok amidst the whole Twitter stuff going on, and
Yes.
he's really starting to show how funny he is.
The
And
dude is I'm so glad he brought I can't fucking believe how I mean I'm legitimately it's hard. I'm a comedian. It's hard to get me to laugh. I don't even like to be on for other people. Holy shit, Mike Flanagan is legitimately funny. And from the distance, I was kind of like, okay, he's probably, a very visual, very meticulous, thoughtful, just writer filmmaker. But he is a comic mind, and it's so impressive, and it makes you. It just I don't know. It makes me think like that is undeniably why he is collecting these incredible ensembles and why these brilliant actors, come back and want to work with him again and again and again. I mean, also, who wouldn't want to be on, his adaptations in the Netflix universe, soon to be the Amazon one? But I totally agree. I'm so glad you brought that up. And God, it would be such a dream. I would PA for Mike Flanagan. I hear he's so just so insightful and one certainly to send the elevator back down to fellow filmmakers like the opportunities he's offering women directors as well for all of his shows is really incredible. And it would be it'd be a dream. I appreciate you saying that. One of my favorite days was realizing that he followed me on Twitter, and I was like, holy shit. um yeah, I think he's a wonderful guy, um and I'm so stoked to see what he's going to do next. I still have to watch Midnight Club, but my wife and I devour everything he puts out, including now his TikTok.
have you seen you haven't seen Midnight Club, but have you seen Midnight Mass?
Oh, loved Midnight Mass. His use of Neil Diamond, like holy god,
Midnight
literally.
Mass is, in my opinion, the greatest show I've ever seen. I mean,
Yeah, and it's criminal that Netflix is not going to put out any of those on hard media because I think we would all
yes.
buy that thing on Ultra Blu-ray, 4K, what have you, ASAP. But I agree, man.
And I think that it hurts so bad that they won't do something like that because you see these people that will go and illegally sell it, and they'll
Mm-hmm.
print this media out and put it out, and people will end up buying that. And the filmmakers that put their hard work, like, that's Mike. That is Mike's story.
Yeah,
Mike
yeah.
has talked about how he put his heart and soul into it, and for someone
Mm-hmm.
else to make the money off of it because Netflix doesn't want to, it just it hurts to
Mm-hmm.
see. It hurts so
Mm-hmm. I
bad.
agree. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But I ain't worried about him. I think he'll be just fine.
Well,
But I would it'd be a damn dream. It'd be a damn dream to work with him.
because that's what I thought watching Wounded Fawn is like, because I'm such a fan of Flynn. Like, I love what he did with
Mhm.
Doctor Sleep. I love what he's been doing within the like not film but television, but it's like streaming television genre, which is different than regular television because you don't have to worry about the constraints of an episode
Mhm.
length or how like
Mhm.
commercials or whatnot. Um, but I just felt like you have that Flanagan actor feeling to you that I could totally see translate to his style.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I think his visual style is also so effective in the genre space. If you haven't seen Ouija, Origin of Evil, the sequel that has no business being as good as it is, it's as good as it is because of Mike Flanagan. I would watch that movie immediately. You don't need to see the original Ouija, but he shot the shit out of it. There are just some incredibly effective visuals that just kind of stick with you, and that's just his. That is his talent. That's a testament to his his intelligence, his prep, his horror wherewithal and knowledge. And it's killer that there's a dude like him working and slaying the way that he is in our genre.
I completely agree, and it's crazy that I have Josh Ruben on like you on my podcast, and we're talking about Mike Flanagan. Uh,
Yeah, dude. Hey, he's a damn master.
I met him in Connecticut. I flew like 1,000 miles to go see him at a
Wow.
convention just because I love him that much. Do you do the convention stuff often?
I
Because I
haven't. Someone mentioned that I should go, and I'm like, God, I have the weirdest booth ever because it'd be like from Dropout, but also he played a psychosexual serial killer, and he does some college humor videos, and he did this werewolf movie. I don't know. Maybe I'll. It's a scattershot way of getting people to come get an autograph or a photo, but I'm kind of feeling like I should. My buddy actually, Sarah Natacheni, she's the voice of Ash on Pokemon. She very very coincidentally and interestingly started making mention that I should examine it. So if you think I should, or I don't know, anyone listening thinks I should, tell me how I can get over there. I'll set up a table and we can take a pick or three.
oh okay, I'll help you. I'll send you emails. Uh,
Yeah.
no, it's just awesome. You're an awesome dude, and I feel like it'd be so cool for fans to come out and meet you.
It'd be great.
And I think that there's just so much that your knowledge of the horror genre that to share that with fans in person would be so cool to have. Um, and
Yeah, it'd be killer. I'm definitely going to look into it for sure.
do you have anything else coming up? Maybe something that isn't on IMDb that you're allowed to share, or what do we
Yeah, I
have?
mean, I've been mentioning this to a couple publications, and there's nothing on paper yet publicly, but Michael Kennedy, who wrote Freaky for Blumhouse, he and I are actually working on a pretty incredible horror comedy that we are so stoked to make. And I'm also working on a sort of Coen Brothers esque, like really kind of oddly uh super creepy and maybe oddly gory kind of invasion of the body snatchers inspired project. And I don't know which one's going to go first. There are a lot of people that come out of the woodwork and ask you to attach to things, that want you to help develop things, but they don't. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to go. I threw my head in my hands when I saw the other day that Guillermo del Toro has 22 scripts waiting to be produced, and I'm like, if Del Toro is waiting for things to be produced, who knows how the hell long I'll be waiting for my things to be produced. So that's why I'm like, not only trying to figure out what the next movie is, but I'm producing some stuff for other people. I'm trying to get some financing for a possession thriller starring Francesca Reel from Stranger Things and Dagmar Dominchik. It's called Surgot. We're super excited about that. And then I have a graphic novel, hopefully coming out next year, that I'm publishing with the fine folks at Invader Comics.
Those are all great things that I'm looking very much forward to seeing. I
Thanks, Jake.
really hope I can see you in the director chair again because I love
Yeah.
what you did with Werewolves Within. And I don't want to keep you for too much longer, but I do want people to know that they can go and get you on Cameo and shout them out.
That's right. Oh yeah, I forgot I had a cameo. Yes, you can. Come on down. I'll do a silly voice for you.
It's awesome. Everything that Josh does is great. If you don't follow him on social media, go do it. He's genuinely funny. He's right here. Also, it feels so weird saying he and you're right here, but you're a funny guy. You're a good person. Like down to the core, you are a good person, and everything that you put out is just so fire. It's so good. So I think everyone should go enjoy what you have made because what you have made is just absolutely awesome.
Oh, Jake, thank you so much, man. It's such a pleasure chatting with you.
Absolutely. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you don't, hit the dislike button. If you want to subscribe, you can. If you don't, that's fair. But until next time, stay horrifying, my dudes.